the only way I get excited about comics news tomorrow? Marvel and DC announced defeat of Comicsgate. Streets to run red with the blood of EVS.
If you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button. Join us.
Loneliness is the coat you wear, a deep shade of blue is always there. The sun ain't gonna shine anymore, the moon ain't gonna rise in the sky, the tears are always clouding your eyes when you're without love, baby.
Well, hello everyone, it's Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and my name's EVS, or Ethan Van Sciver, 27-year veteran of the comic book industry that has collapsed. World's most charming, elegant, eloquent, and yet humble man. Great big Star Wars fan and trusted member of the media. SJWs are howling for my blood right now. SJWs who have taken over the comic book industry and killed it. It's officially dead. Are now coming after Comicsgate and praying for the demise of Comicsgate. They're hoping that they can drag us down with them. They can't. They can't drag us down. Our model will survive. It's built to actually survive situations like COVID-19. It's built to actually survive all of the pitfalls that caused the comic book industry to collapse in the first place. One of those was SJWs, like this fellow here. This is one of the worst SJWs in comics. He's a colorist. There's a weird cult of colorists, like social justice warrior colorists, that all get together, and they're the most hateful people I think I've ever encountered. I don't know why it's colorists who do that. Thank God we have sweethearts like Kyle Ritter, who was my colorist on Cyberfrog. This kind of hatred and the way that people like this speak to the fans and the customers is absolutely foreign to Kyle Ritter. It's foreign to Comicsgate. And look at this guy. He says, "Sorry, I can't hear you over my Batman and Deadpool deadlines, pencil dick," to this poor guy here who probably doesn't want any trouble. But again, this is the answer. Put the pencil down. All of the comic book companies right now are telling the pros, okay, pencils down, hashtag pencils down. We can't afford to pay you right now. And there's still a couple of companies, the big two, Marvel and DC, have not yet made that declaration. They're trying other things, and I'm going to tell you why that is. I'm going to explain that to you. But this kind of behavior, of course, from social justice warriors is a big part of why people aren't buying comics anymore. It's a big part of why comic book stores don't have money put away to be able to survive. They weren't able to sell any of, like, how do you sell the comic book of somebody who called a fan pencil dick and then bragged about getting to work on Batman and Deadpool, these two great big corporate books, a wage slave. This guy is just he's so. The ego, the arrogance, the hubris of these people. They don't think that they answer to you guys, the customers, and that's because they don't. The way that the comic book industry worked before, people like this a-hole were actually insulated. He answered to his editor, who answered to the publisher answered to the distributor, and the distributor answered to the local comic shop, who answered to you. These guys don't consider you to be their customers. People who buy comic books, they don't feel like you guys have any control over their careers whatsoever. How very, very wrong that they are, and I'm going to show you. I'll show you why. So, this is the situation that we're in right now. By the way, this guy I pointed out, that guy is a major cancel culture SJW piece of shit. He definitely is. This fellow here, quite innocently says, look, this whole hashtag pencils down thing is hurting local comic shops. When you see LCS, that stands for local comic shops. Those are the retailers that you might have in your neighborhood. More than anything, if they just continued working, they'd be able to get ahead. So when this thing blows over, they can stock local comic shops with the late and new, causing a huge financial surge when fans buy both. This is a very naive perspective. But this guy means well. He just doesn't understand the severity of the situation that we find ourselves in. In fact, just taking this apart piece by piece, there's no money to pay these people with if they continued working. And if they did just continue to create product, continue to work, and they went ahead and flooded the local comic shops with product that is unsellable, well, it would just make matters worse. The fact of the matter is, there's too much comic book stuff out there right now. DC scaled back with their production, but Marvel doubled down, and they're filling comic book stores with books that nobody's buying. So comic shops are trying to navigate that situation. And not only that, look, when this blows over, I had to actually talk to him. I said, "This isn't going to blow over," and he said, "Well, no, I mean the coronavirus." A lot of people are under the impression that COVID-19 is just going to kind of go away in April. It's not. This problem is probably going to continue for 6 months to a year. So I hate to say that. I had to say it here. Yeah, but that's 6 months to a year away. When the dust settles, there won't be a comic book industry as we've known it. Now, this is why social justice warriors are howling for my head right now. I'm about to lay a vicious truth bomb on them. I even have people who are supportive of me, who didn't like it that I was this blunt about the situation. But I don't think it does us any good to hide our heads in the sand. I don't think it does the comic book industry any good to pretend that this is going to go away and get better. I've got people who are longtime retailers who are saying, yeah, but we endured something like this in the 90s. No, you didn't. And then we came back stronger than ever. Sure, 50% of the stores might die because of this situation, but when it's all over, we're going to come back bigger and stronger than ever. Well, a lot of things have changed since the 1990s. This is a brand new world, a world in which, interest in going to local comic shops is declining. People would much rather order their comic books over the internet. That's how people shop these days. People don't want to get in their car and drive to a comics shop to get their comics. And there's some people who still do enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. And you're probably one of those people. But most people, as we evolve, as a business, as the way we do business evolves, the comic book store is kind of going the way of Blockbuster home video. Of course, there was Redbox in between, and then Netflix. Eventually, you don't have to leave your house at all. Everything is served up to you on demand. And comic books, while they're never going to fully go digital, like Netflix, they're going to be delivered to people. And people are going to want them delivered. Point and click, have them, ship them over here. And that's the way it's going to be. So anyway, that's reality. You can't compare today to anything that we've seen before. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of things are happening all at once that's causing this to be. So here's what I'm saying. Here's my prediction. You want to know how the comic book industry is going to die and what's caused it and what's going to remain. Here's what I said, and this is why they want to kill me right now. I said DC is going to fight this out with digital and bookstore distribution. Now, DC did something really drastic this week. They announced that they are stepping away from their exclusive agreement with Diamond. Diamond has been a monopoly in terms of distributing comic books to comic book stores. It's always been Diamond, and everybody has an exclusive agreement with them. Well, since Diamond said that we are not distributing books, we are not taking product for the month of April, and then Diamond actually said, we ain't paying you either. Companies, hey, vendors, we're stiffing you. We are not paying you for your books in the month of April. This has been pretty drastic, pretty, crazy, catastrophic. DC Comics took that as a hint and said, okay, well, we're walking away from our exclusive agreement with Diamond. We're going to find other ways to get comic books into comic book stores. Well, comic book stores are all closed right now, DC. They're non-essential businesses. There's nowhere to put comics. Where are you going to put them? Well, bookstores, Walmart, Target. I don't even know. Are bookstores open right now? Well, this is what they're going to do. They're going to use bookstore distribution to put trade paperbacks and more floppies in Barnes and Noble and in Walmart and in Target. This is going to shrink their business to a microscopic size. This is going to absolutely, this is not going to work. So they're going to use that. They're going to use Amazon. And eventually what's going to happen is exactly what I predicted. AT&T will close their publishing arm by the end of this year. That's my prediction. DC's already hanging by a thread. And when Diamond closed out, DC had no choice but to essentially pull a Brexit and betray the entire comic book industry, local comic book stores, and betray, Diamond. Diamond kind of drew the first blood, but they had no choice. What are they going to go back to their new corporate masters at AT&T and say, well, we're not profitable right now, we're not producing anything right now, and we know that you're considering cutting us off at the knees. We know you're considering basically divesting the publishing arm, but just give us a minute, everything's going to be okay. No, DC scrambled and announced that they had a solution for this. Well, the solution's not going to be good enough. It's an aspirin to somebody who's actually bleeding out. The industry's bleeding out, and it's not going to work. So, yeah, AT&T is going to close DC. That's going to have a catastrophic effect. This is like the extinction of dinosaurs that we're witnessing right here. Meteors, all kinds of stuff are causing the extinction of the comic book industry. I said Diamond won't reopen. Diamond's closed right now. They're actually in the process of firing staffers. Diamond's not going to reopen because they're saying, hey, we'll reopen in 4 weeks or so. No, you won't. This situation, business is not going to go back to business as usual in 4 weeks. COVID is still going to be a crisis. It's, we're not going to peak until sometime in mid-May. They're estimating that, rather optimistically, I believe. So Diamond is not going to reopen. Random House and Amazon will be used by DC Comics and probably Marvel Comics to distribute their comics in the meantime. At least 20%, and that is being kind. At least 20% of local comic shops will not reopen despite government bailouts. So all these businesses are going to receive government bailouts, but it's not going to be enough. A lot of local businesses are going to shut down, and comic book stores among them. Comics will become mail order and digital, and that won't be enough to support its own production. So digital right now, which a lot of comic book professionals are saying, we need to lean heavily on digital. We need to do more digital. The fact that we've had, print comic books for so long has really taken away from the future, which is digital. That is true in the magazine business. It's definitely true in the newspaper business. It is not true in the comic book business. It just isn't. People really want physical comic books. They want actual comic books that they can hold and collect and bag and board and send to CGC. They're still viewed as collectibles for most people. So digital has remained at about 10% of the industry. 10% of the market is digital. That is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to sustain the salaries of DC and Marvel's employees, their staff, and paying creative people to draw these comics. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. Comics, so they're going to become mail order and digital. It's going to shrink. Very few pros will remain gainfully employed. Very few. You're going to see most people are going to get laid off or they're not going to have any work. This game of musical chairs, the comic book industry, they're going to yank like 80% of the chairs away in one fell swoop, and just, only the best of the best are going to get to work for Marvel and DC from here on out. Or people who are very cheap, people who do not ask for large page rates will probably be employed. A lot of people, a lot of artists from other countries, Brazil, Spain, these guys who come in group packages that have representation. These guys charge 10% of what someone like me, what I got paid. These guys, you might see more and more of these people being employed. I said, your boy Zach used to say, how small do you SJWs want this industry to be? I hope this will be small enough for them. It's going to shrink. That's me twisting the knife a little bit there. Larry's Comics here, he's great. He's just like, oh, people love comic shops, good ones. When I reopen, there will literally be effing in the streets. Have a great day. God bless you. Larry is anticipating that, he's going to get through this, and I hope he does. I definitely hope he does. But I go on to say, look, the situation is this bad. You've got Jim Lee, who is the publisher of DC Comics. And this is a guy in a prime position to create content. He could have created content that would have given comic book stores more product to sell so that they could have filled their coffers. They could have had savings put away. Most of these guys cannot close their doors for 2 weeks without going out of business. That's how paycheck to paycheck and hand to mouth the comic book industry is. So I say here, look, you've got the publisher of DC Comics drawing sketches to auction for charity. And that charity is the comic book retailers. I mean, this is absolutely astonishing. We gotta give you guys, we gotta keep you guys healthy, they're saying. We gotta keep you guys healthy so that we can continue to exploit you. These publishers pillaged local comic shops with predatory publishing scams in order to keep their own numbers up. It's like, hey, you never really saw Marvel or DC saying we lost money this year. No, we lost sales, but we just pumped up the prices on our books. And we employed various tactics to force retailers to pay us more for less to a declining and dwindling audience. For example, buy 100 of these books in order to get one variant that is sellable. And that's something that they did a lot. This was a really nasty tactic that Marvel in particular employed. You want this very special cover, this glow-in-the-dark, this lenticular cover, this chromium cover. In order to get it, you have to buy 100 regular copies, and then we'll send you one of the special cover. Now, the special cover is going to sell. You're going to sell that easily, but who wants these? These are going to sit on a shelf and rot. Customers are going to go, I don't want one of those. I want the good one. I want one of the good ones. Well, I got to order. I guess got to order 100 more copies of the book in order to get my customer that one variant. Absolutely evil. That's what I mean when I say predatory publishing. Predatory publishing. That is an evil tactic that exploits retailers. I don't know why they didn't make it so that retailers could just buy as many of these as they wanted. The price was so steep. It was just so steep. Marvel and DC utterly destroyed the comics biz by launching, canceling, and relaunching series with new #1 issues. And you saw this over and over again. #1 comics that are the premier issue, traditionally are going to sell like 60% better than the second issue. So what's the answer to that? Well, you put out 4 issues of it, cancel it, relaunch it with a new #1. And that way, you're constantly putting out #1 issues and receiving, more money, more sales. But of course, that declines too. Retailers start to catch on. More importantly, you start to catch on. Fans start to catch on with that scam. They buried retailers in big events, big special stories with dozens of worthless and unsellable tie-ins. Like Secret Wars. This is our new Secret Wars series, and there are like 36 mini stories that are going on outside of the main story, and none of them are really important, and none of them are good. But they make you feel like, as a retailer, you need to buy all this stuff, just in case fans are going to want the complete story. It was awful. Again, it got worse and worse as time went on, because it worked. Lenticular variant cover scams that left shelves crammed with unwanted regular covers. That refers back to the 100 thing that I mentioned there before. Let me see here. People are replying to me, and I'm trying to find my own. Messages here. All right, here we go. They let SJWs run wild, insulting customers. You just saw a colorist, Chris Sotomayor, coloring Batman and Deadpool, two popular books, calling a fan pencil dick. They let him run wild, insulting customers on social media and in the comics themselves. Retailers never had a chance, and now they're doing meager charity for their victims. Well, I'm going to sell some sketches. Thank you for letting us exploit you and drive your business into the ground for years now. Now that things are bad and you might not make it, and you're parasites. We're parasites. You, the comic shop, you're the host. We better do something to keep our host healthy so that we can continue our parasitic relationship. Here's some charity efforts to keep you guys open. It's sad. I mean, it really is. It's disgusting, in fact, and pointless. I said the industry feasted well on victimized retailers for the past decade. The party is over now. It's over, guys. It's over. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed, scrambling selfishly to take from these small businesses until they had nothing left to give, and you left them in such a vulnerable position that this situation here, which of course nobody could have anticipated, left them unable to survive. If this were healthier, if the industry were healthier, if this had taken place in 1991, the comic book industry would have survived, because the comic book industry was actively producing comic books that fans couldn't get enough of, and retailers were making money hand over fist, and everyone was wealthy, everyone was healthy, everyone was prosperous. But look at where we find ourselves right now, and that is why. These people are starting to wake up. There are some, people in comics who are starting to wake up to the reality of what I'm saying and what I've been saying, and those people are starting to get angry. They've gone past the denial phase. Now they are angry, and they literally want the streets to run red with my blood. Look. Well, I can certainly understand. I can understand the envy and the jealousy. Last couple weeks ago, I launched Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet to enormous success. I mean, we've raised $430,000 in about 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks. And yeah, the industry's looking at this with hunger and envy right now. How did we do it? Well, I mean, look, it's a direct-to-consumer model that we've employed here. Now, I answer to you. That's it. I listen to you guys, and I talk straight to you. I ship straight to you. Everything that we're doing right now it's just between me and the customer. I answer to you guys. There aren't 3 layers of insulation between you and I, the way that the comic book industry functioned for 40 years. It's important that this be true. It's important that this carry on in the future. Comic book artists, we are not celebrities. We are hot dog vendors. That's kind of what your boy Zach and I have come to believe. Our job is to just sell you fun and just ask you to keep backing us. And thank you guys. You have backed Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet, and it has made social justice warriors absolutely insane with rage. That's okay. I don't mind. Let's keep them angry, guys. The link is in the description if you would like to back a copy of Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet and be a part of this growing movement called Comicsgate that is surviving the collapse of the mainstream comic book industry. Much to everyone's shock, we knew it was going to work. We knew what we were doing was going to work because we were right, we were just, we were moral, and we treated you guys the right way. Thank you very much for watching this video, please like, share, subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss any of our live streams at all. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Adios. Hey, I got a PO box. Want to send me some mail? Send it to Ethan Van Sciver, PO Box 607, Marlton, New Jersey 08053. And I'll probably open it up on the live stream. Thanks very much, everyone. Hey, you want to follow me on Twitter? Are you sure? Well, if so, I'm at Ethan Van Sciver. That's at Ethan Van Sciver. See you there.